What's good, Washington fans, and happy Friday. Just wanted to go over some free agent quarterbacks that Washington may have some interest in and take a look at. There's not a lot of guys on this list, but there's some guys that definitely, there's about maybe one or two that could probably make us better than what we are right now. There's some guys on the cusp that could probably get a cheap deal, or some veteran minimum deals, or a veteran, like a 1 year, $8 million deal. I guess we'll start off from worst to first, in my opinion, the guys that we should go at. I'll just name 5 or 6 quarterbacks. This class is not that great. I guess I'll start with Jameis. I don't know who's really better right now, Jameis Winston or Cam Newton. Cam Newton, he had a rough year. I mean, I guess I'll start off with Cam Newton. He had 8 passing touchdowns, 12. He had 12 rushing touchdowns, had 10 picks on the year. He did have 6 fumbles, so he threw more interceptions than touchdowns. He turned the ball over a lot. He fumbled the ball. He got benched a couple of times. I know his first game against the Seahawks, who had the worst pass defense in the NFL. I think he had like 375 yards passing. So his first 2 games were pretty solid. They beat the Dolphins, and then they lost to the Seahawks. And then I think he got the virus. I forgot when he got the virus. But once he came back from the virus, it was kind of all downhill from there. Like I said, he got benched a couple of times for Jarrett Stidham. He struggled. He turned the ball over. And the injuries have piled up. He did have 592 rushing yards on the year. So that is something that, the familiarity with Scott Turner and Ron Rivera. They love quarterbacks like Cam Newton that can run, that can create. When things break down, they get out the pocket and they run for a first down. That's what Ron Rivera likes. We all know Marty Herney. He's not the GM. He's like the vice president of player. I got to look at his new title, but he did draft Cam Newton, which was the obvious pick. And there's a lot of familiarity there. And Ron, he likes Cam, and Marty Herney likes Cam, and Scott Turner. When Cam played with Scott Turner, they were 6-2, and he was having one of his better years passing the football. We are the Carolina Panthers, so we cannot throw Cam Newton out the door and act like that's not an option that they are considering. I think they definitely are thinking about it. He would be cheap. Adam Schefter did have that report where Cam Newton was Cam Newton is the most likely, is the best landing spot for Cam Newton, that Washington is the best landing spot for Cam Newton. He said like a 2-year, $20 million deal or something. I think that's way too much. Or like a 2-year, $40 million deal or something like that. I think that's way too much for Cam Newton. That's basically what we're paying Alex Smith. But yeah, I personally, I wouldn't go after Cam Newton. I just think I'm not gonna say he's washed up, but he's just had so many injuries to the point where he's just taking so many hits where I just don't see him really throwing the ball down. He was inaccurate. You listen to Patriots fans talk about him. He missed a lot of guys downfield. He missed N'Keal Harry a lot down the field. His best game passing the ball was against the Jets and the Seahawks. Other than that, he kind of struggled throwing the football. So personally, I would pass on Cam Newton, but I would not be surprised if Ron Rivera did make that move, trying to get Cam Newton, because Cam Newton was on a 1 year, $1,750,000 deal, which is very team friendly, which would be an ideal deal for the Washington football team. But I would pass on Cam Newton. Next is Jameis Winston. I don't think they may have some interest in him. He's a veteran quarterback, 30 touchdowns, 30 picks. We already know 30 for 30 with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He did throw a touchdown pass in the playoff game against the Saints. Drew Brees, if you saw read his lips, he was like, "Oh, this is your team now." In the final seconds of the game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. James, he can throw the ball downfield. That's one thing he's not scared to do. He will throw the ball down the field. He's not scared to do it, but he's not scared to throw an interception either. And we just don't have time for turnovers. We're a team that just doesn't have a lot of margin for error. I know our defense will be better than what it is this year, what it was last year or 2020, but still, we're looking for a guy that can manage the game, just not turn the ball over. And Jameis Winston is a guy that turns the football over. So they may have some interest in him, but most likely not. Another guy is Tyrod Taylor out of the Los Angeles Chargers. Remember, he had the punctured lung where the doctor messed up or something like that. He did make the Pro Bowl back in like 2015 where he threw 20 touchdowns and 6 picks. He's more of a game manager. Everywhere he's been, Cleveland Browns, he got hurt, and then Baker Mayfield took his spot. And then now with the Chargers, he has the punctured lung, and now Justin Herbert is taking his spot at the quarterback position. So everywhere Tyrod goes, it looks like some quarterback is right behind him taking his position. So he can run. He's mobile, experienced quarterback, but I would pass on Tyrod Taylor. He is available, though. He would be pretty cheap. He got paid $5 million, $5.5 million by the Chargers this past year. Joe Flacco, I pass on him too. Mitchell Trubisky is kind of interesting. Now, I know a lot of people think he's a bum. I wouldn't consider him either. He had 16 touchdowns, 8 picks on the year. Had 3 wins in a row before the season ended to push the Bears into the playoffs. Had a couple of good games. They were against some bad defenses like Houston and Jacksonville, some really bad defenses. But he played a lot better than what he has in the past, but still not good enough. So, but the 5 guys I think, or 2 other guys I think we're really going to consider. Jacoby Brissett is somebody to think about. He was decent that 1 year with the Colts, but they didn't think it was enough. He's 29 years old. Cam Newton is 32 years old. How old is Jameis? Jameis is 27 years old. So he's still, all these guys are pretty young. They're not like 38, 40 years old. Tyrod Taylor's 32 years old. But one guy that's a sleeper somewhat is Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's 38, about to be 39 years old. He is an old head, but this guy is tough as nails. 13 touchdowns, 8 picks. Had a very high completion percentage this year too. Let me see where he was ranked. He was ranked 7th with completion percentage. Now he does throw interceptions too, almost at a high clip like Jameis Winston does. We know he's a gunslinger. He's not scared to throw the ball downfield. He definitely would get the ball down to Terry McLaurin. He would not be scared to throw the ball downfield to Terry or whatever receiver is there. They're going to get yards. They're going to get big chunk plays if you're playing with Ryan Fitzpatrick. He played well. I mean, what were they, like 5-4 or 5-3? And then they benched him for Tua Tagovailoa. And Ryan Fitzpatrick was playing well the whole year, honestly. I remember Tua got benched and Ryan Fitzpatrick came in for relief, had a face mask. They face masked him, and then he still threw the ball on the Raiders and threw a 60-yard, 50-yard bomb to put them in field goal range. It was crazy by Fitzpatrick. I mean, Fitzmagic. There's good Fitzpatrick and then there's bad Fitzmagic. Even from his Tampa Bay days, his Jets days, he'll have 2 or 3 good games and then he'll have 2 or 3 terrible games. It's like, this guy needs to be benched. But he's been playing better as of late. The last 2 or 3 years with the Dolphins, he's played a lot better. He has. I remember him. He beat the Patriots last year. He'll surprise you. He really will. And he's expecting about a $10 million deal for 1 year this year. There's a couple teams that are going to be bidding for Fitzpatrick. There's going to be some teams that are definitely going to be calling him up for his services because he's been solid the last couple of years. The Dolphins did go, 9-7, 10-6. So if they were in the NFC East, they would have won the NFC East by a landslide. They would have ran with it. So 2,091 yards on the year. And he's a little mobile. He can run a little bit too. Had 151 rushing yards. Andy Dalton's a free agent too, but I would pass on him. And the next guy up is Dak Prescott. He's the top free agent of the class at any position. He's ranked #1 on a lot of sites that I've seen, and probably kind of is true. I mean, quarterback is the most important position in the game of football. So before he did get hurt, I mean, he had more passing touchdowns than Cam Newton with 9 passing touchdowns. I had 1,856 yards passing. I think he had about 300 or 400 yards passing and 4 out of the 5 games that he played in. I mean, which is ridiculous. But we all know how he struggles against 500 teams, you know, with the Cowboys. He lose when it's time, when tough things get going, you know, sometimes he folds, you know, he folds. Teams over 500, he doesn't have a good record against those teams. But he's a great quarterback. I mean, last year he had 30 touchdowns, 11 picks. I mean, he had good weapons with CeeDee Lamb. He had good weapons with Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup and Ezekiel Elliott, so Tony Pollard. So he's had a perfect offensive situation, and a good offensive line. He's had a perfect offensive situation around him. So if he comes to Washington, we're not going to have that much talent as Dallas has on offense, but who knows with free agency. If we do sign Dak, another big-name receiver is definitely going to want to follow to come to us. But he's going to command about a $40 million contract. That's just what it is. Now, the Cowboys, they might franchise tag him, but, you know, who knows? This could be a bad marriage here, or this could be a divorce here this year, because I know Dak is tired of being franchised. He wants that big money. He wants that big money. He's been wanting it for the past 2 years. Everybody else has been paid around him. Like Zeke got paid, DeMarcus Lawrence just got paid, Amari Cooper got paid, Jalen Smith got paid. A lot of guys on the Dallas Cowboys got paid, but the quarterback. So he's definitely feeling some type of way, and he definitely would. I see him leaving, honestly, but who knows? We'll see what happens in March. But Dak coming to DC, we definitely would be the best team in the NFC East. We would be we possibly would be a championship contender if Dak Prescott did come to the Washington football team, and we would be stealing their quarterback, so we would make the Cowboys worse because they would have to play Andy Dalton or re-sign Andy Dalton or play a backup, or the Cowboys might have to trade up and get somebody. So that definitely would hurt them. It would make them, what were they, 5-11, 6-10? They would be like a 3-13 or 4-12 kind of team if they do lose Dak, or 5-11, because they struggle. They clearly struggle without him. They clearly know that they need him. But adding Dak to the roster, you just got to pay him, but he definitely would make us better. He's 28 years old, man. The guy can play, and he's mobile. That's what Scott and Ron like. Scott Turner, they love guys who can run, and he's a guy that can definitely run and get some big yardage running the football. He's killed us many games before, so if they do make that move, I would not be mad at it. I think John Keim or some other beat reporter, it might have been Chris Russell, said that the Washington football team does want to make a big splash at quarterback, and that Dak Prescott could be one of those guys, one of those big names that we do make a play for. So don't be surprised if you do see Dak Prescott in a Washington football uniform. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you guys like that move. If there's any other quarterbacks that are free agents, not being traded for, like Matt Stafford or Mariota or Matt Ryan, guys like that. I will make some videos about trades. Of course, Deshaun Watson. Let me know. Jacoby Brissett, I already said his name. RG3 is a free agent. That's funny. Geno Smith is terrible. Brian Hoyer is a free agent. Blake Bortles. Josh Rosen's a free agent. Who else is on this list? CJ Beathard's terrible. Nick Mullins is a free agent. He was awful. We know what he did. We know what we did to him. So Mike Glenn is a free agent too. So that's about it. Blaine Gabber's pretty awful as well. Colt McCoy is a free agent too. So other than Dak and Ryan Fitzpatrick and maybe Cam Newton, those are some guys that could probably push us to the playoffs. Maybe Jameis. But yeah, so all right, you guys let me know what you guys think. Hell to the football team. Everybody have a great weekend. Peace.